Hello, Ash. Welcome to another episode of Haunted Pub Crawl. How are you doing?
Welcome. I am very good, and it's a very special day today.
Haha, yeah, it is.
Quite apt to go to do a pub crawl on today's day as well.
Yes, yeah. But ironically, I didn't. So
Yeah, a bit old for that now. But happy birthday, Greg.
thank you very much, Ash. Thank you very much. It's
21
yours
again.
soon. It's yours soon as well. So
Yes.
on the next episode of the podcast, we'll be talking about yours. But yeah, thank you.
Maybe.
Thank you. Yeah, no. Special day. I'm 21 again. This must be the 25th or 26th time I'm 21.
That's the way. That's the way.
Yeah. 46, though, it's not even a number, Ash. I'm nearly 50, as everybody keeps telling me. I'm
You know.
basically 50, which is quite scary.
Wow.
But yeah, no, all good. All good. Only as young as the person you feel. That's the.
Yep. That's because I'm luckily my partner's 10 years younger than me. So
I haven't even got one. So I don't know what that means. I'm in limbo. But no, all good. All good. You good?
Yep, very good. Very good.
Awesome.
Got some interesting pubs to talk about tonight.
Yeah. And weirdly, we didn't even discuss this beforehand, but we picked pubs from the same city
We did.
without. So we've been in Scotland. We've come out of Scotland now. And so we're in England. And
Yep.
I thought, okay, where am I going to go? That's north. I picked Newcastle. So I've sent you the link to the video that we'll talk about at the end. And lo and behold, you picked Newcastle as well.
I have.
So
Well, I was thinking about going to like Cumbria and sort of coming down
mm,
the Lake District way, Carlisle up
yeah,
there, because obviously Carlisle on the borders got a lot of history with the fighting and stuff
yeah,
between England and Scotland. Thought that'd be
yeah,
interesting. But now let's just do the northeast first.
yes.
Let's do up Newcastle way, and then I was actually looking at one of the pubs I looked at was the one pub that you did as well. But
Mm.
fortunately, I did concentrate on a different pub. Otherwise, we'd have been talking about the same
That'd
pub.
have been funny.
That'd be a lack of communication.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the northeast has got a very famous poltergeist cave, the South Shields poltergeist.
Mm.
Um, lots of pubs in Newcastle, as we found in Scotland. There's lots of pubs in Scotland, and
Old
an
ones as well.
old ones, yeah. And Newcastle is up there as well with those kind of similar numbers. And I've got relatives up in Newcastle or just outside Newcastle. So yeah,
Cool.
I'm
One
basically a
part of the
Geordie.
country I've never really been.
I've only been
Northeast.
like a handful of times to visit relatives and that. And a very interesting difference between people up north and people in the south. So anybody who's not from England probably doesn't know so much about the north-south divide, but I thought I knew what cold was. Then I went up north and went to Newcastle. We parked outside what was St James's Park, which is the old Newcastle Sports Direct Stadium. We parked out there to go shopping. I had a thick coat on and a jumper. My relative had a t-shirt on. That was the difference from him being in Newcastle and me from being down in Oxford.
That's why I
It was
call you
cold.
Southern Softies.
Exactly. And I was just like, oh my God, this is freezing. So yeah, there's a definite divide in temperatures, acceptable temperatures for t-shirts.
Definitely.
Anyway,
Definitely.
so
Anyway, pubs.
pubs.
So I guess I'll start.
Yeah, cool.
We'll talk about your video in a bit. So I'm going to talk about a pub now called Swaley's.
Ooh, yeah, nice.
It was originally built in the early 18th century on the
Yeah.
site of a former blacksmith's in the city centre of Newcastle.
Hmm.
Ale was sold from a makeshift tap room in the backyard, hence the original pub's name, which was Blackie Boy.
Oh,
It was renamed recently over fears that people might be offended by the name. And
yeah,
yeah,
I remember reading about that. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, fair enough.
Yeah.
But the ancient watering hole is steeped in history. Rebuilt in 1889 after part of the structure collapsed, Blackie Boy, or now Swalleys, is one of the oldest pubs in Newcastle and has quite a bit of an entertaining history attached to it. The pub was a favourite haunt of the famous engraver Thomas Bewick, who belonged to a debating club known as Swalleys, which this later became named after the proprietor Richard Swaley, who met there during the late 18th century. Every member of Swaley's club had to behave as a true gentleman, and if not, he was fined and dismissed from the club immediately.
Ooh.
It was also a strict no female club. So proper men's only, gentlemen's
Yeah.
little posh place.
Nice.
Swalleys is also home to a few ghostly customers. Along with drinkers enjoying the lively nighttime atmosphere, many and eerie sounds have been heard and presences felt at strange hours of the night. However, two of the most astonishing occurrences have happened in broad daylight,
Okay. Nice.
which is like UFOs, not always at night. Stuff does happen in the
Definitely.
daytime. Once, a woman's voice could be heard yelling out at a member of staff who's changing the light bulb in an upstairs toilet, clearly coming from one of the cubicles. He cautiously turned towards the empty toilet, only to hear the voice screaming at him, "Get out, get out, get out."
Oh Christ.
He was like obviously freaked out, ran out the room, ended up tripping down the stairs because he was in that much of a like scared panic, as
Yeah.
I think he would be. A colleague came from downstairs, obviously heard the commotion, came up to see what all the noise was. Obviously, he said like just has been shouted at, been told to get out of the toilet. They both went to the toilet to sort of have a look, and the whole upstairs was completely empty and totally silent.
Wow.
So it had some very
Yeah.
scary, ghostly. That would
Wow. Yeah, that's
I wouldn't go back up there. I don't mean I would, not on my own. I'd definitely go with someone.
but something shouting like that, that's enough to sort of ugh, send shivers down your spine.
And you imagine like he was in the toilet fixing the light. So if
Mhm.
that's say a woman's toilet, and if we sort of talk the theory where ghosts can interact with, or whatever they are, can interact with
Yeah.
different, like we talked last week about the sort of how they interact with us, or is
Yeah.
it just time we're playing at the same time, all these different dimensions,
Mhm.
or these different things?
Yeah.
If that is a woman in a different timeline, we say, and she's on the toilet, and all of a sudden there's a man in the toilet with her changing the light bulb, they
Yeah.
probably would start shouting at him to get out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like she's on the toilet or whatever, so she can see him. So he could have been like a ghost to her while
Yeah.
she's sat on the lavvy.
That's a good point. Are we the ghost to them?
Mm.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Wow.
maybe startled her, so that's why she's like panicked. She's shouting, "Get out! Like I'm on the toilet, get out of here!" Like so that's
Yeah.
interesting. Another
It-
incident happened to a young artist a few years prior to this, whilst the pub was being refurbished and concentrating on her work painting artifacts from the bar. A presence was felt behind her, and she could feel cold breath on her neck. Unable to move for some strange reason, she knew that it was a man. For years, other staff members and also customers have also reported seeing this dark figure and feeling as though they're being watched, particularly on the second floor, amongst many other unusual happenings.
wow.
Hmm,
Freaky. I think the shouting bit is the one for me. That's
definitely.
that's definitely would make me think twice about going back there. Like you say, I'd go back up there, maybe not alone.
Maybe with a camera and voice recorder as well,
Yeah.
just in case.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Maybe a Ouija
Hmm,
board.
maybe.
Awesome. Awesome. So I am going to go for the George, the old George in Newcastle. Let me just
Yeah,
pull that up now so you can see that picture. Let's find that. Oh, sorry. Technical. There we go.
nice.
So that is the Old George Inn. So doesn't look too weird from there, but, and as you'll see at the end, it's got a very famous inhabitant.
Oh,
So before he was executed, King Charles I was apparently a regular inside this 16th century Newcastle boozer on High
that's
Street,
quite a
Highbridge.
famous
Yeah,
guess. That
yeah, I
just the
suppose
king.
just the king. In the middle of the night, an eerie orb floats through Old George's hallway and vanishes. And as you'll see on this video clip, which I'll play at the end, it does look like a fly. And I'll be honest, that's what I thought it was. And it's supposedly the captured spirit of King Charles. Whether it is or not, I don't know.
Could be.
So, landlady Andrea Johnston said at first she also thought it might be a fly, but a fly doesn't disappear like that. Instead, she feels the transparent ball of light, which we'll show you, could possibly be something quite incredible, the spirit of King Charles I. I mean, personally, I don't know how you would know that, even if it was a ghost or a spirit of some kind, whether or not, how you would know that was King Charles I. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this must be an old pub.
Yes.
King Charles, I can't remember what decade, what decade, what
What
century that
decade?
was.
Yeah.
So,
So,
that was like
yeah.
hundreds and hundreds of years ago, King
Yeah.
Charles.
So the Stuart monarch was apparently a regular inside the pub whilst a prisoner in the city. In the years since he's met his grisly end on the executioner's block, many punters have claimed to have spotted a ghostly figure. So, is what I'm going to show you in the video belonging to the slain king? Maybe. Andrea admits her Highbridge pub often gives her chills. She says, I feel a presence in parts and I can't explain it. It just feels strange. And there have been a string of eerie encounters inside the hallway, function room, and the pub's smaller bar. The pub's apparently so haunted that ghost hunters have stopped the night. Strange faces appear in windows, whisperings in empty rooms, but possibly the spookiest sighting in Andrew's year and a half at the helm of the pub was the incident caught on the CCTV. So before we play the video, a little lead up to it, that she says that alarms have been going off and they couldn't explain what it was. So they checked to see if there was an intruder, but it was only this ball of light that appeared on the screen. And then what she says happened blew her mind. They had 4 or 5 sensors which had been tripped to set alarms off, added Andrea. She was also formerly of the Eckenside at the bottom of Dean Street in Newcastle, so she's used to pubs. But the order in which they tripped was as if whatever had set them off had walked along a particular route. They spoke to a security guard and a security advisor, but he had no explanation at all. In the past, some of the staff have been left feeling nauseous and complained of being watched, and some refused to go into rooms alone. Now, a feeling of nauseous and being watched, the nauseous is definitely like a sign of a haunting, a poltergeist type interaction. A phantom punter and his dog have also been spotted vanishing at the bar. But Andrea said it was the CCTV that did it for her. All this paranormal stuff is about getting an explanation, but with this, you just can't explain it, she says. So I will play you the clip.
I mean, the sensors going off, that's obviously interesting because they've gone off, like, like you said, it's like someone's walked down that corridor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, there's no one there. And then you see this. For those that won't be able to see the video because if they're listening on audio,
yeah,
it's like CCTV that shows a room with a couple of chairs and a table.
Yeah,
and
it's
this
like in the
sort
bar
of
area or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, then this white ball of light kind of comes up from the bottom of the screen, sort of moves up slowly towards the middle, like a fuzzy white ball.
Yeah.
like a large orb that you typically see in type of
Yeah.
videos. But it's
Yeah,
odd.
it is odd. But then I've seen, like we were discussing before we started this, I've seen like ring cameras and night vision cameras where these sorts of things have appeared. And the way it slowly moves, to me, feels like a bug or something like that. But again, I don't know. It's
Yeah. And it doesn't explain the sensors tripping.
no, doesn't. It doesn't. And I think if you were to just see the video on its own without anything else, yeah. But like you say, if sensors are going off on a like a perceived route of this object or whatever it is, orb, then yeah, that lends weight to the fact that it may well be
King Charles the First.
King Charles the First. Again, it doesn't have his name badge on, so it's very difficult to tell if it's him.
That was
But
crown.
yeah, it was the crown that gave it away. But it is, I mean, he is the most notorious sort of person to drink and frequent there, especially as he's a prisoner in the city at that point. So if anybody was going to haunt it, I suppose he would be the one to show up. But yeah, I don't know. I'm on the fence with that bit of footage, but I'll play it. And if anybody wants to comment on what they think it is,
Yeah.
we'll put the video up on YouTube. And if you're watching this, hello, welcome on YouTube. But we'll also we can put this clip up on TikTok, social media, or whatever. Let us know your thoughts. Do you think this is King Charles the First? And that is the Old George Inn in Newcastle.
Awesome. Awesome. We shall be back soon with more haunted northeast pubs by the sounds
Yes.
of it.
Yeah, definitely.
By I man.
All right, and Deck.